Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Strictly Better Gaming. This is Travis Simulan Sowers, and we're going to jump into a Legacy Cube draft. Be gentle with me. Cube is hard, card interactions are complicated, but this format is so fun. So ideally, we'll get to do something incredibly broken. It's single elimination, so we can't go too nuts. But I did have a deck that was able to do some pretty interesting things with the, God, what is it, Demonic Pact? The one from Origins with Liliana on it. You get 4 choices and then you die. We had so many ways to interact with that. Such a good deck. But hopefully we can get something fun like that going here. Here we go. Alright, what have we got here? We've got some interesting things. We don't really have anything that's like, oh my god, have to play this like... What I'm looking for is like an archetype card. For example, Llanowar Elf. Okay, I'm in the ramp deck. Living End. Or I guess it's Living Death is what you're looking for to like enable a Reanimator deck or something. Like, we probably just have to go on power level, which I believe Fact or Fiction is likely the strongest card here. Dragonlord Silligard does give you something to ramp into, and Stealing Planeswalkers is exceptionally relevant here. There's also probably a bit of a safer pick in the Phyrexian Metamorph in that it's colorless, can go in any deck, and I do tend to prioritize manlands. And you know what? Maybe this could be considered like archetype cards in the Hero of Bladehold or the Relic Warder, because White Weenie is definitely a deck, but I have a hard time going wrong with the first pick Fact or Fiction. Like, it kind of doesn't matter whether you get the fact or the fiction. It's just great. Oh, and now we have the choice. We have the choice of one of the most busted cards in Recurring Nightmare. If you get this going with some interactions, you probably win. And we have some of the best ramp the world has ever seen. So if in the next pack we get an Upheaval, Basalt Monolith, blue-green ramp, let's go. And if in the next pack we start seeing stuff to enable graveyard shenanigans, well, we're in business. Until we play against the person who has the Scavenging Ooze, and then we lose. This is a tough one. If Recurring Nightmare wasn't here, I would snag this Basalt Monolith and just move along with my life. And maybe I should. It leaves us open to doing so many other things and gives you the potential to play some sort of big mana deck. It's probably right, but this is a hard pick for me because Recurring Nightmare is a lot of fun. You can do some stupid things with that card, but it needs other cards to be good. This one just needs spells. There's the Living Death. There's also an Opposition. This is almost as good as Upheaval. So I realize we have some non-creatures, but if you can find something that makes a lot of creatures, you can do some strange things with this card. Yeah, you usually want to be in blue, although white could do it. And maybe even red if you wanted to go deep on like Dargon Fodder and that sort of thing, but yeah, this is hard for me not to take here. So now we've got some options. We're passing a good Reanimator deck. There's an Elf of Deep Shadow, which is a thing. There's a Hinterland Harbor, which probably goes in the deck that we're building. It's not as good as something that you can search with a fetch land, and there's a fetch land here that does it. There's also a Chasm Skulker, which, if you can draw some extra cards, can do a thing. Like, this doesn't draw you cards. It does presumably make tokens for the opposition, but like, opposition really wants to be in a ramp deck where you're using creature-based ramp. For me, it's between the Elves and the Wooded Foothills, because this will fetch a green-based duel, which we'll probably want to get. But I'm going to take the Elves, as if we can get into green-blue ramp and do something with this, we're in serious business. Now, here's somebody who makes tokens and who you can ramp into. There's also Everflowing Chalice, which does some interesting ramp shenanigans as well as Phantasmal Image, which is just a good card. I had said that white can be a good token producing color, and it indeed can be. God, Phantasmal Image is so good. I can't believe I just took that. If the green pays off, we're going to regret that pick. If it doesn't, then we're super happy. Temple of Enlightenment is usually pretty good in a deck where you're trying to assemble some sort of combo. And just because we haven't seen an upheaval by now doesn't mean there isn't one. Right? We don't want Garruk. We don't want Sublime, Archangel. I'll just take a Temple of Enlightenment here. I think we're probably going into blue-white ramp. Splash Assemble the Legion. Okay. That's what we're doing. I was saying we would like something that makes a lot of tokens. And I see a card here that does that. This card makes a lot of tokens. So we're doing a classic Jeskai tokens deck. I wonder if Jeskai Ascendancy is in this cube. It'd be pretty handy if it was. If the mana gets really, 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 really good, we could play a Mishra's Factory, but it probably won't. So there's not much else for us to take here. I mean, Honor the Pure is cute, but we don't need that. I may just take the Mirran Crusader and put it in the board because it absolutely hoses some decks. That said, Mishra's Factory is a creature. It can block as a 3/3. I'll take it. I don't know if we play it, but we might. Hero of Bladehold is an interesting option. Like, if you can attack with it, it does things. There's also Leonin Relic Warder, which I don't hate, and there's a Krinkos Command, which does play interestingly with the opposition. I think if the hero wasn't here, I would more strongly consider it. We might want things to do in the early parts of games, because currently our deck is 3-4-5. But I still feel like we're going to be blue-white splash stuff. I'll take the hero. Pretty happily, we'll take a Blade Splicer here. That makes multiple dudes. And Trade the Angels is an interesting option. If we're going to be heavy white, which I think we are, that's something we can play. Unexpectedly Absent is also an acceptable removal spell. It's not great, but it's acceptable. I'll get rid of that for now. I don't think there's a chance we play Isamaru, but we might. It's thundering pretty loud over here if you guys are hearing that on the recording. I'll take a Tech Edge in case we want it. Kidian, again, I kind of doubt we're interested in the 1-drops. Interestingly with Kidian, we can use him as something to do early and block with, and then potentially make enough tokens to attack with him. So we'll see what's up. We passed out on some good blue cards, but we've got basically all of our cards that make creatures make multiples. So that should mean that we can do some fun things with opposition. There's a Raise the Alarm. There's a Sorin. There's a Master of the Wild Hunt. There's a Master of Waves, which if you want to make tokens, that will make you some tokens. The challenge is right now all it plays with is opposition. So like, if we're going to do that, we should probably take Future Sight and try to go into a heavy build for blue and get some value out of that. We'll probably spin this Raise the Alarm, and I like having this kind of base white with a light touch of the other colors, which means I really need to prioritize mana fixing as we go through these next few packs. But I definitely don't need to pick this here. So if it's not that, what is it? Probably Future Sight gets us to our combo, but Master of Waves is so good if we get other blue permanents. And if I can only splash Assemble the Legion, then my mana gets way better. I think I'm going to grab it, but somebody's going to say in the comments that I'm being an idiot, and they could easily be right. But you can see kind of why green is better for this type of deck than any others. Like, there's 2 green token makers here. Even Sorin would be fine, but he's only making us a couple vampires. There's a Tundra. There's also a Swords to Plowshares. God, Tundra is so good because it's fetchable. But I really kind of want my fixing to be red-based. I don't know if I can play without swords. There's so many decks that are like, cheat out a Gristlebrand, and just having 1 mana, your thing is dead, is so versatile. There's also a Mind Stone, which I like a lot, but I think we need to respect the plow. That name again is Mr. Plow. There's also a Kavu, which is not bad in a deck like this, but I've got plenty of 4s already, and we'll probably end up with more. This hurts a little bit, but we're going to take Swords to Plowshares. Why, hello there, all the cards that I want for my deck. I want the Rabblemaster, I want the Flicker Wisp, and I want Elish Norn. Elish Norn is an interesting finisher. At 7 mana, it's difficult to play that. Secure the Waste, I would certainly want. I think, and Brago's even playable, and Flicker Wisp is fun. You can do some fun stuff with it. I'm not exactly sure what, but I mean, you can at least, you can get like stupid amounts of mana out of Brago and Basalt Monolith. But I think we're going to take Elish and then hope to spin that Secure the Wastes and accept the Rabblemaster as a possible follow-up. Remind me to pick up some fixing. I kind of need to do that. Well, there's another guy that makes tokens. I mean, we're kind of getting like a white tokens deck splashing for opposition. Oh, I'm not opposed to that. There's a Hangerback Walker, which does make the tokens. I feel like we're kind of okay on that, and if I don't start taking some mana fixing at some point, I'm never going to have any. So I'm going to take another Temple. Again, with a pseudo combo deck, that's probably what I should do here. I don't have any 2-drops. I have none. Can I really afford to pass on more? I can't afford to pass on more fixing. Just take the fixing, you idiot. Misty is probably something we're interested in. Ajani is so good. So good. And we're looking at playing those colors. Don't stop taking the Ajani, Travis. But it destroys their lands. But you need the fixing. Oh, God, the discipline is killing me. But I've already passed a Tundra. What am I going to see that this gets? I can take a Ajani. It's a cat. Precinct Captain makes tokens, potentially. Journey to Now here is good removal. But I think I'm going to take a Battlefield Forge and continue to be intelligent Travis and take fixing because we needs it. We needs it. Why are these guys still here? I don't think I want a land tax, but maybe. We did spin the Raise the Alarm, which is fine. We need 2-drops. I'd like to have some, and the tokens are relevant. Again, they play nicely with opposition. This Master of Waves is starting to look a lot less good. But I mean, it does at least make a token with it. Spun the Flame Tongue Kavu. I might just take the Lightning Helix, though, again, so the deck has some form of removal. Although, do you really need it if you're playing with Elish? Because Flame Tongue is cool. It's a creature. It does a thing, and red is our splash color. Yeah, this kills most of the stuff that kills. I'm gonna default to the creature when in doubt because opposition. This card is absurd, and I will happily play it as basically our only blue card. You get at least 1 token when you play this guy anyway, right? That's kind of lame. Again, don't think we're Mishra's Factorying. That's rather phallic. Spun the Secure the Waste. I was kind of hoping we might. So we are sort of a white aggro deck, splashing for Fact or Fiction, Opposition, Master of Waves, FTK, Kitty, and Assemble the Legion. Alright. I can almost just take mana fixing out of all of the packs in the next set, and then we should be good to go. Is Crusade playable here? I mean, it might be, but I kind of don't think I need that. I'm going to actually take Active Aggression and sideboard it in against a Reanimator deck. Seeker of the Way is something to do on turn 2. That's fine. And we can enable it to an extent too. That's too much. Just take Yosei. I doubt we play it, but... And the War Marshal's pseudo-playable. I mean, it's basically Raise the Alarm number 2. Like, it can't hurt. The fixing has to get pretty good for us to want it, but it could be a thing we do. Alright, so there's nothing here that I have to take, so I think I'm going to take the Hollowed Fountain just to, again, make the manas better. If we do end up with a fetch that can get this, having a searchable blue source is going to be really handy since we are looking to hit double blue. We would never turn Thassa on, and there's not really anything for our colors here anyway. There's a library, which I like, but meh. Xenagos, again, would go good with the plan, but I don't know that we splash green for that, too. And again, you can see why green is such a good color to pair with an opposition deck, but meh. Take the lands. It seems kind of funny that lands are such a high pick in Cube, but if you want to be able to cast all the cool cards, you've got to have a mana base that can support it. And we're getting close to that. Can I, as a reasonable human being, not play Karn? I don't know that I can. If you've ever restarted the game with Karn, it is so good. It just feels so good. Like, the correct pick is probably Banishing Light. I don't hate that, but this is Karn we're talking about here. Like, you don't not play Karn. You obviously play Karn. What do I want about this stuff? This is where I wish there was a... I wish there was something we could play, but there's not. I'd like for there to be things, but there aren't. Like, to an extent, we could consider the Fiend Hunter. It's a pseudo removal spell, and it's a creature that interacts with opposition, but I almost want to take the Bloodstained Mire and gamble. Because we've already got some removal, but I guess Fiend Hunter's fine. I don't love it, but... Marshall Coop? That's where you keep militaristic chickens, a Marshall Coop. Yeah, we'll play this. I mean, it's a board wipe that makes tokens. If there's a deck that wants this, it would assuredly be this one. Got a lot of X spells. Spectral Procession fits right in. Ajani kind of fits right in. Hordling Outburst would fit in if I thought we could cast it. I don't think we can. I think we're more likely to be able to get off a Spectral Procession than a Hordling Outburst. I really just want another piece of fixing, but I think I've let that train go too far, which means War Marshal probably doesn't make it, which means we probably do want this. If that Ajani spins, I might play it. Kami of Ancient Law is fine. Tempt with Vengeance is certainly interesting. Like, that certainly plays well with opposition. So War Leader's Helix, which isn't bad. Talia, which we can't beat. Mana War's fine too, like bounce their stuff. To have it with opposition. Like, we've got 22 playable, so whatever I take here is probably the last card. I feel like I've already got 2 of these effects with the Entreat the Angels and the Secure the Waste. I'm just going to take the Mana War. Makes the Master of Waves a little better, and it's kind of cool. You know, we're not going to see any more fixing. The days of fixing are over. We could consider a Spear of Heliod as kind of a backup plan to the opposition, but I'm not even sure that +1/+1 is good enough. Perforos could be cute, but it might be too slow. I don't really want anything else here, and without a fetch, a proper number of fetches, I don't think I would play a Brainstorm. I'll take the Spear in case we decide we need to try to out-aggro somebody after board. Angelic Destiny can do a thing. Reckoner is playable. Cunning Spark Mage is interesting. Student of Warfare can just run away with the game. The Eternal Dragon can be terrible. We could side this in against the Living Death deck. Just hold it in our hands and plain cycle it. That sounds terrible, but we don't need more playable, so I'll take something that's at least interesting for the sideboard. That is just completely disrespectful to everything I know and believe. I don't like it. This should not be here. I'm not happy. Someone should have taken this and played it. We can't fit the factory in either. So do I just hack this because I don't want to play against it? No, if people aren't taking it, they probably don't know what to do with it. I can't envision a scenario in which I want any of these things. So I'll just hack a removal spell. Hey, we got the Banishing Light back. I'll make some room for that. I like having removal spells. Well, that's kind of weird too. I don't think we're ever going to want it, but okay. Armageddon came back. That is also something I find interesting. I don't know that we play it, because it seems like it'd be hard for us to get ahead of people, but we could. This guy's interesting because if we're making so many tokens, pumping them repeatedly is something I'm kind of interested in. I don't know how interested in it I am, but I know that I could be interested. Last pick Eureka seems about right. So I only got 4 pieces of fixing, which means I'm not valuing lands high enough, and we ended up with basically too many playables, which is a great problem to have. We'll have to go through here and kind of look at what we have and what we want to cut. It may be that Master of Waves, because it doesn't look like it's doing a whole lot. So let's look at what we've got and what interacts well. Like, all of the token producers obviously interact well with Elesh Norn. So kind of the 2 engines this deck is trying to run on are Ajani and Opposition to make tokens and then leverage them. So cards we have that make tokens go up quite a bit here. Things like these, Elspeth, Assemble the Legion, the relatively mediocre Raise the Alarm, and they all combo with her too. So we've got like 3 things to do with these tokens we're making. We can tap their stuff, or we can pump them. And I suppose Hero is one of these cards too. And Master of Waves is too, but it's kind of a 4-mana Raise the Alarm in a sense. I don't think I love the main deck Seeker of the Way, although it's going to have prowess a lot, so it can attack for lifelink. But I think I'd rather have a main deck enchantment removal. All of these other guys have to do something really good, and they do. They, again, Brimaz can make tokens if he can attack. The Blade Splicer makes token. The Master of Waves makes tokens. So I kind of don't want to cut this stuff. It may be that I can cut Unexpectedly Absent and kind of depend on the Banishing Light and the Swords to Plowshares to get the job done. And Karn kind of doesn't fit what I'm doing, but it's so cool if you've got a Basalt Monolith in play. Maybe we can just cut Mr. Fiend Hunter here. He's a little bit hard to cast. The other thing I could do is cut the Entreat the Angels, because it sucks to have this card stuck in your hand. But I mean, worst case scenario, you pay 5 mana for a 4/4 flyer, and when it's not in your hand, it's so good. Yeah, I'm not playing Karn. Who are we kidding? So this looks like a pretty terrible curve. But let's put this here, and this here, and this here. And it sort of looks like we're stuck on 4s and might should be running 18 lands, but we're not because Basalt Monolith. Yeah, I'm not convinced that this is a good deck, but it certainly looks like a fun one. So these are red spells, and those are blue spells. Let's see what we can do with our mana. How bad is it, sir? So we want to have at least 10 white. I'd probably like more if I can get it. This would leave us 3 red sources. That is not enough. 3, 4, 5 blue sources. That is not enough. I want 7 blue. And I want... what does this give me? 3, 4, 5. It's almost enough. 5, 6, 7. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This is as close as I can get. I don't even need one of these islands, but I think I want to play an extra one. Just because opposition is kind of the whole point of the deck. I mean, I do want to hit Brimaz on time. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, I got to go up here. 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, I think this is as good as we can get it. We're basically a duel and a fetch away from an amazing mana base. But I'll take it. This deck, like I said, may not look good, but it certainly looks fun. We'll see you guys for round 1 in just a minute.